And welcome everybody to the Tuesday show. My name is James Chen, and this is Mr. Ultra David. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's right. Yeah. My name is Ultra David. I'm happy to be over here as always. Just as you were about to say, the thing is that I saw you starting up to say those words live, because I can definitely see you live. You're sitting there right next to me, and everything that you do is just like it was happening in front of me, because it is.
It is, absolutely. Absolutely.
It is.
So
in this direction, I'm pretty sure is the right one. So we're going to be talking about some things that happened over this past week. It's not like a super news-heavy week, to be fair. But some stuff did happen nevertheless. So, yes, we're definitely in the same room. We're going to be talking about results, including the CPT, NA East, AnimEvo, a few other things happened as well. We're going to be talking about the ArcSys Guilty Gear Strive Developers Backyard Q&A.
Yeah.
We got some fun 5-5 matchup topics to discuss. There is some other game news. There is some other community news. But yeah, let's start with results.
Sure. And just, of course, just a question for everybody. How's the volume? I see someone says that there might be a little bit of crackling in there, but then also just volume levels of everybody, just making sure, because it's always a fun challenge here on streaming, I should say, with audio. But
I have not actually gotten a haircut. I've just figured out how to wear my hair with this thing, with the headset on, in such a way that it kind of looks like I have had a haircut.
Yeah, I know, because that's interesting. It almost looks like it. If I had a hair tie, I actually think I would have put my head into the samurai stuff for this show here. I think I probably would have done the samurai look for it, but I do not actually have hair ties. That is not something that I have regularly available in my house.
Well, we got plenty of hair ties, and I'm going to learn how to do that soon.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about tournament results. I feel like it's been half a year since we started a show by talking about tournament results. We have occasionally talked about tournament results, but there hasn't been anything that's like important enough for us to be like, guess what the results were in and probably Evo Japan.
Right, yeah. I mean, to be fair, even this week, probably, if there was something else bigger to talk about, we probably would have started with that, too. But, yeah. But,
Thanks to the sub, Noah's Wild. Yeah, I mean, look, as we said, not the biggest news-heavy week, but there was some stuff, and the CPT NA East, number 2, was part of it.
Right.
So, of course, the Capcom Pro Tour this year for Street Fighter V is being run in the way that everything has to be run, which is internet only. And to make it into Capcom Cup, you have to just win an event outright. There's no points. Well, I guess there's also like a fan voting thing, but in general, you make it in just by straight up winning a tournament. And this one was full of top players. You know who's in the eastern half of NA or Street Fighter V. Like, even as somebody who lives in the West, probably most of the best players are...
Well, not anymore. Not anymore, actually, because remember, a lot of the East Coast players have moved to the West.
Specifically, Punk and Nephew moved here?
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, keep in mind as well that CPT, NA West, and NA East, there's only the 2 of them. So this was it for the East Coast guys, right? Like, this was it for them. Either they make it in now, or they don't. The first one was won by Mandrake, wasn't it? Or...
It was.
Yeah, yep. Mandrake won that one. And so here in CPT NA East 2, this is the last chance for players like Shine, like Smug, to be able to get into the CPT. So
that is for sure. And before we go over the results, I just wanted to say it was my first time doing CPT commentary this year, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've been playing and watching so much Street Fighter V this year, so I was really happy to be able to commentate it. I feel like this year, in particular since Honda came out, is probably the most that I've played Street Fighter V. Dude. I've enjoyed the game a lot since Season 3. As we've often said, I think that in Arcade Edition is when it actually became like a really good game that I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I have been playing it since then, but yeah, since this man came out, I've been playing a lot.
Dude,
a lot.
Look,
so
finding Knowing the character is so important. I mean, that's like a 5-5 topic all in itself, right? I mean, for me, could I have ever made Diamond without Lucia? Probably not. I mean, I could have done it with Cammy. It's just that my drive and my interest and my enjoyment was just not high enough to motivate me to get to that point. But I mean, that one season of character releases was like a boon for the both of us.
It definitely was. It definitely was. So it was really fun to do Street Fighter commentary again.
In St. Cola, dude. St. Cola.
Also, St. Cola was on commentary with me, and that was great. It was his first time doing the CPT. He has been commentating things online for the past while.
Yeah.
But this was his first, well, not just online, but, that's what we've all been doing. It was his first time doing CPT, and so he was nervous. He mentioned to me before we started. I could tell.
Yeah,
And then in our very first match, we were watching it via our individual Street Fighter V clients, right? We were all in the lobby. And my client, I could tell, was way behind.
I
would say something, and then he would say something, and it was like 10 seconds ahead.
Right,
5 seconds ahead. So at that point, I was like, well, I shouldn't be doing the live play-by-play anymore. Maybe I could add on to something that he says.
Right.
Or maybe give some generic thing in between rounds. But I can't do the live stuff until it goes back to the lobby and it resets. So his first match on CPT commentary was me not really talking, and he just had to kind of do it.
You're like, you have to do everything. Aha! Welcome to CPT commentary.
And I can't even tell him. I can't even say it. I didn't want to say it on the air. I didn't want to be like, hey, I'm way behind. This is all on you. I just had to hope that he would do it, and he did.
Yeah.
And he did. So I think that he did a good job. I thought it was great.
I mean, honestly, what I've discovered from doing the CPT online is that on the Zoom call, you can see their broadcast over there, and then you can also have your own Street Fighter window. And I actually commentate I actually look at both of them and see which one's further ahead and commentate on that one.
Okay.
It's a really weird, because sometimes the Zoom call will actually be faster than the Street Fighter game, and so I'll always keep watching them until the Street Fighter one is on time, and then I can jump to that one because it's obviously better frame rate and everything like that too. So
I like that. That's a good idea for the future.
And there's a lot of times, I'll do that on commentary. I'll just be commentating and I'm like, I'm behind. I'm sorry. So I'll just say it. I don't care because it's online these days. Everybody knows it's kind of a cluster, these days.
I'm willing to say that I think that there was bad connections online. On commentary. I did say that a couple of times, that I felt there were some matches, especially in the top 16, where I was like, I didn't want to let it go. I didn't want. Everybody knew it was up. Everybody else who knows the game at home is watching, and they could also be like, why is it that this one of the best players in the world player did something really, really dumb?
Right.
Why did? Because on their side, I'm sure they got rollbacked. So I mentioned it.
I definitely, because the one time Punk was playing against Myers, I was like, these are some very uncharacteristic drops from Punk.
Right, I remember that. Yeah. It's better to just bring it up. You don't have to be a jerk about it on commentary, but it's better not to ignore it.
Yeah.
In my view.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, let's get to the results. If there's something else to say about this, bringing it up.
No, go for it. Let's talk about this. This is exciting.
All right. Here's who qualified for the Capcom Cup, along with Mandrake from the East. It was Rise Smug, who played primarily Balrog. He played a little bit of G, mostly the boxer. Second place was END Shine, Ibuki, and Jury. In exactly the same place for the purposes of the CPT, CJ Truth with Cammy. Also tied at 0 points was Cleo Knuckledew with Guile, G, and Cammy. Tied as well in 5th place were Dan Slip Cammy and Terrence Chun-Li. And then tied as well were Crescent Rob TV, Karen, Guile, and Chun, and Brutus with Zangief and Abigail. Tied with 2nd place at 7th place.
Yeah, this is where this format just becomes so brutal. Brutal because I'm so happy Smug won. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. Like, I'm so happy that Smug won. But as happy as I am that Smug won, I might be equally as sad that Shine is not in the CPT, because I have been such a huge fan of Shine for a while now, and especially because he also plays the Lucia, so there's a little bit of bias there and everything. But also, man's been putting in the work. He's been winning so many of the NLBCs, and doing well. I mean, obviously, IDOM has been a thorn in everybody's side in NLBC, but like, Shine is just such a solid player. He's so good. He absolutely deserves to be in that CPT, and he would be in CPT this year, I truly believe, if this was a normal year, just from getting points, going to tournaments and stuff like that. So, oh man, it's hard. Like, I'm watching the grand finals, and it's like Smug and Shine, and you're like, Smug is winning, and I'm like, yes! And then Shine is winning, and I'm like, yes! And then, Smug wins, and I'm like, yes! And then I look at Shine, and I'm like, no! Oh god, it's so hard.
Well,
dude.
I would have been really happy with anybody in the top 4. I mean, all these players are cool. I like them all personally, and I'm rooting for them always.
Yeah, of course.
I think those top 4, Smug, Shine, CJ Truth, and NuckleDu, would have been fantastic regardless.
Yeah.
Smug making it back into Capcom Cup's great. Shine getting there for the first time would have been fantastic. CJ Truth getting there would have been great. He is the only player to have made top 8 in both of these NA Easts. He made top 8. I think 5th place at the previous one.
Okay.
So if this was a regular year and there were points on the line instead, he's clearly showing consistency even on the internet. He probably would have a great shot at making it into Capcom Cup. And then NuckleDu, considering what he's been through this year, with the car accident, he's talked about mental health struggles on Twitter. For him to have made it in, I think would have been great. By the way, I think that we all kind of overread the tweet that he put out in retrospect. If you look at it, it's not him saying that he was going to quit and retire forever. He doesn't say that in the tweet. I think we just read that into it. And I'm not really sure why. But I think we all did. I remember us talking about it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
it really now looks more like it's just him saying like, I got to take a break. Like, he doesn't say I'll be back, but he also doesn't say I'm gone forever.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
I was really glad to see that he was in here and doing as well as he did.
Because I mean, the tweet was saying like it's time to put down the controller or something like that, and it's like it sounds that way, right? So I don't know. Maybe we're all just too conditioned to feel that way thanks to PR Balrog or something, because we've heard it so many times from him. No, I was kidding.
Yeah, right.
I love you, Eduardo. I will always make fun of that forever.
It was really good top 8. Even the top 16 was cool. Yeah, it was fun. There were a couple camis, there were a couple of guiles. Thought that was interesting. That was of note to me.
Yeah.
But CJ Truth's, like, those two camis are so different. CJ Truth is the most fundamentally solid reactionary player. Maybe, I'm certainly in NA right now, I would say.
Yeah.
But maybe in the world, like, if you watch how he reacts, it's so, maybe other than Punk, I don't know. Anyway, there's a short list that he's on, right? There's not many people who can do the same kind of thing that he does. So he plays that kind of cami. And then Dan Slip is out here B-skilling and EX hooliganing and going for hooligan grab. Like, they're just completely different players with that character. So I actually thought that was cool, because I think typically that's not a character that's easy to have your own personality with.
Yeah.
But there it is. They're doing it.
The two things I want to say. One is that the word that I describe CJ Truth's cami is explosive. Because that's just how it feels, right? It's just like, let me hooligan dive kick. Oh, you jump back, I'll uppercut you, and it's just like, oh my god, things just happen with his cami, and it's just, like I said, like, every time I see him play cami, it feels like every time she hits you, there's explosions on the screen, because it's just like, it's so precise, and it's just out of nowhere so many times, so... the only thing I do want to address is that Felipe in the chat says that he made a question in Best of 5. Don't you think that there should be cash prizes to the top 8 players in online CPT? The answer is yes, but obviously, and you can speak to this probably better, legally there cannot be, right? Because some states do not allow for that kind of thing, only if they have the sponsors, if they can get the sponsor prize.
Not exactly. So you can't have a normal structure of entry fee, then payout from that same prize pool. Yeah, there has to be some disconnect there.
Right.
And so if there were to be no pay in, then yeah, you could get a payout because it's not considered gambling. There's nothing on the line, right? You could just win or not. So in that case, yeah. But where does that money come from in that case?
Right.
Capcom has to front up all that money, or whatever partners they have to front all that money instead, and that's harder to do, I'm sure, especially at this time. So it would be great. It would be great for sure, but it's also, I imagine, not easy to actually make happen.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, honestly, I don't know. Does it feel like the online events? I mean, I saw that this East tournament got up to about like 25,000 viewers or something like that, which is pretty good for an online event. But, I mean, is that comparable to the offline events? I can't even remember anymore, like...
Man, I don't know. Who knows? It's a time in my life that's so long ago now.
Right.
I think offline ones got a lot more than that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So
who even knows at this point?
It's hard to say, like, hey, sponsor this event for look at this considerably smaller amount of viewers, kind of thing. Yeah. So, big offline is up around 60 to 70,000. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's pretty rare, but that does happen sometimes for sure.
Yeah. So it's kind of it's a little bit tough. It's tough to get that kind of prize money for the situation.
It is tough. By the way, Horsewax, I agree. CJ did remind me of Shanghai as well.
Yeah, that's a good call. Prime Shanghai. Yeah.
I think that's a great analogy. I thought this was interesting. I know you're not a big fan, but every once in a while, Event Hubs will do like a combination of which characters made it in top 64 of whichever tournament.
Okay.
And I did that for this one. And with 350 entrants in there, the top 64 character usage stats, Akuma was first with 5. That's maybe not a big surprise. But then second places tied were Cammy and Chun-Li and Zangief and Dhalsim.
I mean, look.
Those were tied for second with 4. And then the tied for third place with 3 each were Urien, then Sagat, Vega, Ed, and Honda.
I mean, look, Akuma, everyone agrees, is a pretty S-tier character. And then you see the second tied spot, Zangief, Chun-Li, Cammy, Dhalsim, clearly all very A-tier characters here as well. High A-tier, maybe S- characters. We've seen we've seen the Japanese tier list. Zangief, Dhalsim, they're always up there, man.
They are.
Look,
and maybe they're right. I don't know.
I'm telling you right now, especially for Dhalsim, I think Dhalsim is criminally underrated by the Dhalsim community. I really do.
The Dhalsim community has been saying that he's like mid-tier. Mid or A, some people will say, for a while.
I really do think Dhalsim...
They don't think he sucks anymore.
I don't think Dhalsim... I think Dhalsim is actually super strong. Just because he presents a different fight that you have to get used to compared to everybody else. You know what I mean? True. And Zangief kind of does that too. I don't think Zangief is A tier, personally. No, just because...
I also don't think he's bad.
Yeah. But, I mean, Zangief just has bad matchups, like really terrible matchups, and it's just, it sucks. One of them being Dhalsim, right? I mean, we saw that on the West Coast plenty of time.
Right, exactly.
But
and then you have other characters that many people think are top tier. Like Seth only had 2. Dictator only had 2. Karen had 1. Zeku had 1. Nobody mained Abigail or Colleen. They both had secondaries, but that's it. And then 0 people played Rashid. There were 0 Rashids out of 64.
That is weird.
How about that, right?
Look,
right? Anyway, I just think that this list is very interesting because it is not exactly what many of us think about the tier list. And, real world results are never like that. They're always a little different, but I think this is more different than I might have expected.
One thing I do want to say, though, is that I have been of the opinion, which is, of course, completely backwards from my past history and everything like that, but everybody who kept saying Cammy is not good anymore because her health is so low and her stun is so low and all this stuff, and I was like, no, I still think she's like almost S tier character. And
I've been saying that this whole time.
Yeah, and everybody in the chat has always been like, no. But then whenever she shows up, everyone's like, God, I hate Cammy. Scammy, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, everyone talks about her and hates her and everything. And you have 4 Cammys. Dude, I still think this character is potentially, like, top 5, if not, like, 6 or 7 or something like that. So, she's so good. Because she, like I said, when she gets you in the corner, it doesn't matter who you are anymore. You are the same character, and she will kill you no matter what. I mean, it's kind of true for a lot of characters, but I feel like Cammy in particular, just because of her walk speed and the changing of her jump arcs and just having a DP and all this other stuff, I think she's so good. Oh, man.
I agree with you. By the way, people asking in the chat, there were 2 Fangs in top 64.
Nice. I mean, there were
there you go.
two Balrogs. One of them won.
Yeah, one winner.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, the one thing that you kind of have to look at this list, though, that's kind of telling, though, is that outside of Cammy, probably, but like all the characters kind of up there are kind of fun characters to use. You know?
I agree.
Sagat, like, even though Sagat isn't good, people just like playing him. There's just something satisfying about Sagat getting these Kara uppercuts and stuff, and Vegas and Urian mix-ups, and Honda just, you know, handsing and butt-slamming people all day. Dalsum, you know the Dalsum players love it when... Like, Dalsum is one of those characters that when you get the thing that you want to do with Dalsum, the adrenaline starts flowing, you know? It's just...
he's super fun like that.
You know, and Zangief, same thing. Once you get an EX SPD, you're like, here we go. It's like fun. So, and Akuma, of course, he's just the, you know, the Swiss Army knife of characters, so he does whatever he wants. So
yeah, and he's fun. He's a fun character. He's a top-tier character with a ton of different options, so that's great.
Yep.
That's great. By the way, Bone-chan thinks that Sagat is good.
Oh, does he actually say that? Okay, good.
He actually thinks that Sagat is good.
Because I also think Sagat is criminally underrated as well. I understand he has problems and that he's not going to be top tier. But high mid, probably, because he causes some really frustrating matchups. The problem is he just has a bunch of matchups that he gets blown up in reverse, which is the problem. So, yeah.
Alrighty. Well, let's go on to the next one. Let's talk about the AnimEvo 2020, which is now done. This was 4 weeks of tournaments, just in the same way that EVO was supposed to have been multiple weeks in a row of, you know, all the different games that were in there. This one had approximately 2,000 different games in it, and it took 4 weeks to get through. That is now over. So this last week had Blaze Blue Central Fiction, North America West Coast. That was won by Kyo X Chan with my Psychotic Carl got second. Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R was won by RS.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
BBCF North America East Coast was won by Uri with Lychee. Melty Blood Actress Again Current Code in Brazil was won by Ether Shao with Yumizuka Satsuki Len.
It's really interesting. I just want to comment on this. The Guilty Gear Accent Core Plus R doesn't have an East-West division. Does that mean they use the fan-made rollback netcode version?
I think it was NA.
Right, well, it's NA, but still, there's no East Coast versus West Coast, so I wonder, did they actually use that? Oh, no? Okay, so Kraken says no, they did not. Oh, okay, they just use regular net play. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Eternal Fighter Zero was won by Gordy and Bot with Mai Kawasumi. BBCF Europe was won by IKEA Oniro with Naoto. And second place was TF Frank Bottle with Tager and S. Brilliant Arthur Arcana Blood was won by The Joker 27. And did I do this one last week? Yeah, and you're right. So BB Tag was last week for NA West, right?
Jan.
So yeah, there you go.
Nice. Okay.
So that is now over. I'm sure that must have been a huge amount of work to do because, again, there were so many different games. There were many different games that were played in many different regions as well. And coordinating that must have been a lot of work. And, finding streams for all of it must have been a lot of work. That just must have been a lot of work. So hats off to everybody involved in that process.
Yeah, I mean, again, one of those silver lining things of the lockdown and the pandemic is really everybody kind of learning how to do this online and coming up with the right systems. And a lot of that credit honestly goes to Reddit Street Fighter because they were doing a lot of the online stuff first, right? And they put out the guides to do that. I know for our stuff, I've definitely used those guides to help set up the online tournaments and such. So, but it's really cool to be able to see the kind of talent and skill now that people are using to do this, to actually run these kind of events online to this scale. I think that's really cool.
Right. Totally. All right. Let's talk about the next one, which was what you did, the Adorama charity event.
Yeah. It was basically a CPT NA West run back. I mean, like the top 12 that we commentated, so we commentated top 12, and I swear 11 or 10 of them were in the top 16 of NA West. Like, it was just like the same people. It was just like all the same people. And again, that's right, we probably should have added this in here as well. Danny Pham and Punk and Justin all teamed up to do the Mario and Luigi charity thing. And, shout outs to Mario and Luigi. They raised over $10,000 for them to try to get them out of their current living situation. But both of them, they're in the top 12 again. I mean, they both lost in the first matches that were on stream, so they got tied for 13th place. But, I'm sorry, tied for... Shoot, how does this work again? 9th place? They all tied for 9th place.
Right.
But, I mean, shout-outs to them. They're both such strong players, and they're always doing damage at these tournaments.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. So this was won by Punk.
Mm-hmm.
PG Punk got first place, second place was Samurai, third place was Mira, fourth place was Nephew, fifth were Stupendous and 801 Strider, and seventh were Commander Jesse and Alex Myers. Yeah, I mean, that's a great lineup. There's no doubt about that.
Shout-outs to Mira, who double Jeopardy Nephew, the CPT champion.
Okay.
Yeah, she beat Nephew both times in winner's side and in loser's side with some of the wildest, like, I'm just throwing outstanding heavy punch here. Like, I'm -2. Laura.
Hmm?
Yeah, so she would just throw outstanding heavy punches when she was like -2 or whatever, and they would crush counter and like all this stuff was going nuts. And then the crazy thing is that Samurai just completely like shut down what Mira wanted to do. It's crazy, like how much Samurai was able to shut that down. And then Punk just completely decimated Samurai, 3-0'd him twice. All of it was double Jeopardy, by the way. Nephew lost twice to Mira. Mira lost twice to Samurai. And Samurai lost twice to Punk. And it's crazy because people want to talk about that Punk-Samurai rivalry. But, I know Punk is trash-talking in the past. But, he definitely seems like he has the leg up on this. And not going to be much of a rivalry if Samurai can't avoid getting 3-0'd by Punk's Seth. It was Seth that Punk used for the majority of the tournament.
That's who Punk should play. I know Punk's been playing that character a lot. And online, I think Seth is the pick.
Yeah.
I think that Seth is better than Karen anyway. But I especially think that if you were trying to play the reactive style, it's really hard online. And Punk, we saw CJ Truth do it. They have both gotten good results with doing that. But if you can avoid needing to do that, like... play Seth. I think he's so strong.
That's actually a really good call just for the environment right now. Like, if we were all offline, you could definitely be like, yeah, go ahead and play your Karen. But online right now, we are in a situation where, you might want to avoid having to hit confirm crouching medium kicks and such, so...
I definitely think so. But it does seem like there's a separation between Punk and Samurai and everybody else on the West Coast.
Well,
like Nephew, maybe right there.
Yeah, no. I say the three best on the West Coast right now are Punk, Nephew, and Samurai. I really do believe that.
That's probably it. That's probably it. But it is really, really cool to see Mira up here. She's super strong.
Yeah. By the way, interesting statistic from Big 4 Lil as well. In the CPT East, same thing. Smug double jeopardied Shine, Shine double jeopardied CJ, and CJ double jeopardied Do.
Right. I didn't even think about that. Huh.
So it happened in both of these tournaments. That's crazy, dude.
Weird.
But I mean, honestly, shout outs to Adorama. I mean, it was a charity stream, so everything in Matcherino that was raised went to students in like New York, just to help them, the lesser fortunate students, for getting good proper equipment to do social distancing learning for school and stuff like that. And then there are prizes that, because Adorama apparently has a bunch of stuff. Like during our broadcast, they got 1 million subscribers to their YouTube. They hit 1 million subscribers, which they've been putting on stuff for a long time for fighting game events, and people seemed excited that they're finally dipping into the fighting game community. Punk won a $3,000 laptop, dude. Like,
wow.
He won a $3,000 laptop, and I was just like, what do the commentators get, man? I need a new computer, damn it. I mean, it was pretty nice. The guys got hooked up.
Yeah.
They didn't get money, but they got a lot of good equipment, so that's actually super good. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there was also this other event that I was a part of, which was the Boys. No, hold on. I already got it wrong. Amazon original, The Boys, Prime Video, Somebodies versus Nobodies in association with Evil Geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
This was, again, I mentioned it last week. Wednesday was the Sonic Fox Kumite. There were 8 players who had made it through into top 8 in a normal double elimination tournament in Mortal Kombat 11. And then each of those 8 players got to play against Fox. And if they beat Fox, then they got an extra 250.
Nice.
And I had originally thought that like maybe 1 or 2 people would beat Fox. And instead, 4 of them beat Fox. Kerbalicious, The Mighty Unjust, OD Full Auto, and Combat all beat Sonic Fox.
Nice. Okay.
And Fox, Fox. So they decided to pick like random characters almost.
Oh,
not quite random,
okay.
But like, let's have a character exhibition for some of those. That's at least what they said afterward when it was 4 and 4. I'm not sure that, like, it's hard to know what is actually real here, but maybe they were just going to go for a character exhibition, and they lost, whatever. But definitely Fox wanted to beat Jukes and Combat and Samij is what they said, and Combat busted Fox 3-1. It was a bust up. Like, honestly, It was a blow up.
I mean,
at the end, Fox, like, we were interviewing them, and Fox said that Combat may be the best Mortal Kombat player in the world right now.
Okay.
So I thought that was cool.
I mean, I'm just sad because I'm looking at Samij here with the 0-3, and it's like, aww.
Samij got more, like, the most busted. Samij was the only player to not take a game versus Sonic Fox.
It sucks. But that's really cool. I'm glad that, that some people were able to beat him, and although obviously Sonic Fox going 8-0 would be a great story, I'm glad to see that they, actually did lose a couple of games to get some rewards for some of the other people there.
Definitely, yeah. And as Polaclaw says, yeah, Combat was the only one who actually blew up the Joker, right? So Fox used other characters, like I said, a bunch of other characters. Fox, like Jukes actually did fine. It was 3-2. It wasn't like some blow up when Fox beat Jukes, but yeah, Fox's main stuff is the Joker for sure, and Combat's Johnny just ate it up. So shout out to Combat. Okay. He's pretty good.
Nice.
Still a kid. I don't think he's 18 yet. I think he's still like 16 or 17.
That was always one of the funniest things was that when we were doing the Bud Light Beer League, Linkors entered the tournament on the first East Coast one, made top 8, and then was DQ'd out of the tournament because the tournament was 21 and older, and we discovered that Linkors was 20, and I was like, what?
Linkors is 20?
Linkors is 20. In fact, I think
He's a very mature-looking fellow.
He just turned 21, like maybe either today or like 2 days ago or yesterday or something, because everyone was joking that he could only qualify in August, the end of August. But like everybody in the streams and everything were like, he's 20? What?
Looking guy. Like, he doesn't look old or anything, but I would have definitely said mid-20s.
He's just so tall. I think that's just really what it comes down to, is that he's just so tall. But yeah, I mean, that would be the same thing that happens. I mean, technically, well, okay, I guess you have to be 18 to play the game, right, for Mortal Kombat. So technically, isn't he not allowed to play the game?
His parents have to sign a guardian agreement.
Really?
Yeah, they actually did.
His parents are probably like, we have to sign this document so that our son can win lots of money and for a violent game. Where do I sign?
They definitely have. And not only that, but like he's traveled really far to do it, so they must be cool about it.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, if I were his parents, I'd be super cool with it too. Best player in the world, potentially. Oh man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So those are the results. Had some good stuff this week.
I mean, he's probably not even old enough to be allowed to watch The Boys, right?
Right, yeah.
Oh, man.
Boys is good.
It
was a fun event. We definitely chilled a little bit, but it was done in a fun way, I thought. So
That's
I thought
cool.
That's
cool. I mean, look, little exhibitions like that, these kind of things like that are really cool, especially during these lockdown periods, just to have these exhibitions and these fun events so that we can, just watch people have a good time playing fighting games. It's just been so nice for our community,
For sure.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, that's it. Do you want to move on to the next thing?
Yeah, let's go to the next topic here.
All right, let's talk about this Guilty Gear Developers Backyard Q&A session.
Yeah.
Well, session maybe not the right word. It was just an online text thing. But did you take a look at it?
I didn't even know about it until I looked at the notes that you put up, and then I went and read the whole entire thing. And I really like the answers that they're giving. I think that the answers that they're giving to the questions have all been really, really well informed and really good, with really good purpose in there. So, if you want to sum up some of the points, we can talk about them.
Sure. So one of the big things that it felt to me that they wanted to get across was that they talked about trying to make the appearance and impression of the game easier to comprehend, but not to make the game itself easier. And I think that exact phrasing is what they said. Yeah. I believe that the solution to getting new players to enjoy matches is not to make the game itself easier. Actually, this is interesting. But rather to create a rank system that makes it easier for them to play with others who are around the same skill level. If players can fight others at the same level, there's no need to try and make new players play the same way as advanced players, nor to make game mechanics that obscure the gap in their skill levels. I think that's a really good point. That makes total sense to me. And then they, later on, in the same interview, talked a little bit more about ranked.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get this down here. Yeah. So we are developing the game with online matches in mind from the start. Before, we've made systems for the games in arcades and then used those ideas as a base when making the console versions. Now it's the opposite, right? So now they're paying a lot of attention to how the rank system works. So they're gonna try to make it so that they can avoid making it so that some people don't want to play ranked because they're worried about their level falling or whatever it is. And he thinks that having multiple online modes splits the player base, making it more difficult for beginners to match people with their skill level. So they're just really thinking hard about how to make the online experience better. They're obviously putting in rollback netcode as well, as we've discussed for quite a while now. So they really are thinking about that side of things.
Yeah, and again, these answers are music to my ears because I have often said that online ranked is the most miserable experience in like all of video gaming practically. Trying to rank up in fighting games is it's so hard to do. Like, it's masochistic in a lot of ways. And I even said when we tried the beta with the floor system and all that stuff and the weird little pixel icons and all that stuff running around, that I loved all of the ideas and intentions behind it. I was able to see what they were trying to do, and I said that they just implemented it very poorly. Like, the implementation of it was just awful. But what they were trying to do, and I reflected that in my survey that I filled out afterwards. I was like, look, I get what you guys are trying to do, and I'm on board with all this stuff, but you know, you have to think of it this way, and you have to consider these kind of things. I love what they're trying to do, and I could see that. The lobby system humanizes your opponents a little bit more. It makes it look more like you're going up and playing against somebody. You know, there's like, I don't know, there's more to it, and I think they're trying to create more of like a community kind of thing, you know. I typed in a bunch of suggestions on how to do that without hurting the ranked kind of concept and stuff, so I love reading that, because I've long believed that ranked in fighting games is just awful experience. It's miserable. You know, you lose points, and that's all you do is just watch yourself losing points all day. And this actually, I think, is really cool. I'm excited to see what they can come up with.
The idea of the way that they have the lobby set up, I know can be cool, because I've played Them's Fighting Herds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they has that same kind of idea. It's just done really well, and they even have a little like mini game that you can play in the lobby if you like walk outside. I really like that. It was fun. I got to make how my little dude looked. Like, it was great. It was super fun.
Yeah, and you know,
I'm definitely down with that idea as well.
Yeah, to be fair, it was a miserable experience, and it's funny because, you know, they actually even admitted that they did not realize that if 7 people stand on top of each other, that all the requests would go wrong and stuff like that. And all that did was just make me laugh, because as a QA person who's worked in software, you know, it's just like, you know, whenever you're in a test environment and you know how something's supposed to work, sometimes your brain just doesn't process that this could happen. Whereas, like, it's obviously that this is what's going to happen. Like, here's one guy and everyone stands on top of him and all the requests get all mixed up. And it's just like, you know, like, you know, the Darkwing Duck quote I always think of is, how could I be so stupid? You know, and then, you know, his adopted daughter says, does he really want us to answer that? You know, I mean, like, seriously, like, that's kind of one of those QA responses. You're just like, God, like, how did we not test this? Because I'm sure when they were testing it, they're like, oh, look, these people are trying to request, so I'll jump over and find someone else who's not trying to, like, instead of like, let's pile 9 people on top of each other and see what happens. And so, like, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So, you know, I like what they're trying to do. Like I said, they implemented it badly, and I absolutely agree with Hanzo. It was one of the most miserable experiences that I've ever had in a fighting game lobby. But I get what they were trying to do, and that's why when I sent them my notes, like, it was like I wrote them a novel. Like, this is how you can fix this problem, this is how you could do this is how you can do this to also make it feel like it's a community, but also still adhere to, you know, how you want ranked to go, etc., etc.
Yeah, and what Paco was saying in the chat, matchmaking based off determined skill makes players mad because it matches them up against bad players, and then they lose because they don't know that they are also bad. So, I mean, I think that what the Strive folks are saying in part is that they don't want to have this separation. What it seems to me is that they don't want to have multiple online modes. The typical way that we do it is we have a casual mode and we have a ranked mode, right? Or maybe there's even more than that. Maybe you have like a King of the Hill mode, or maybe you have, you know, whatever it is, whatever. I mean, there's many different ways that games do it. If instead you just have everybody on the same mode, then you don't have this separation of player bases. And so you don't have, I think, as much issue with people getting matched up against frustrating opponents. Like, that happens to me when I'm playing Street Fighter, happens to me when I'm playing Mortal Kombat. I feel like when I'm playing on ranked, it's hard. It takes longer for me to find a match in some cases. And I think sometimes that's because there are people who are in my, like, matchup range but not that many of them in my particular range. Many of them are also playing instead playing in casual mode or whatever it is. So if we just had everybody in the same funnel, maybe that could be a less frustrating experience. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that I addressed as well, even in my survey answers to them was, it's interesting because they're really blending casual lobbies and ranked lobbies into the same thing, and it was really fascinating to me. And, rather than telling them, put it back to how it was, like, I was trying to come up with a lot of ways to make it work that way, you know? And, like, honestly, like, spectator mode would be super cool. Like, can you imagine if you had the two icons and go up against each other and it was just like two really strong players and they just really wanted to challenge each other? And, like I said, instead of putting points on the line, you could play a, quote, casual match where you could steal an accessory from them. Or if you can eventually build your own house or something like that, you could steal furniture from each other. Like, I wager this thing and whatever. And when they play against each other, a big sign shows up above their head, like, here comes a grudge match. And then in the lobby, you would see this grudge match, and then everyone can jump over to it, and then you just click spectate, and then you would just see this crowd of people around two people fighting and spectating. Like, you just create this kind of interesting community environment that way, and I think that would be really, really cool. I don't know, that's how I just like things like that. I think would be really cool. Yeah, money matches for in-game goods. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think MK11 does it nicely online. I think that in general it's great.
Yeah, and
but I could also I'm interested in seeing what their experiments are with Strive.
I also really did like what they mentioned, that it wasn't about making the game simpler, but it was about making the game simpler to comprehend, which again, I understood why they had the giant words of counter, and I love the fact that you get the slow motions when like Fafnir hits you just right and all this stuff like that. You had all this information, obviously the display was kind of bad. In fact, the UI made it harder to comprehend some stuff, like like your guard gauge and stuff like that was really poorly implemented and stuff. But overall, I get what they're trying to do. I got it right away what they were trying to do, and that was one of my favorite things about the beta, was that everything felt like it's just like you get counter hit and it's just this crunch and you're just like, ugh, like you feel good about it. And that is one of the hardest things about fighting games, and in my opinion, why something like Smash Brothers is genius. I've always talked about, wanting to do a whole discussion on why Smash Brothers is one of the most intelligently designed video games ever made. Like, just in terms of conveying information to the players, that the more damage you do, now all of a sudden they get launched further, is just like one of the most, endorphin producing kind of things. You actually feel like,
it's very clear.
Yeah, you're actually beating them up and they're getting weaker. You know what I mean? And that doesn't affect what they can do to you, but when you hit them, it feels good, and it's just, there's so much in terms of, conveyed information in that game that is natural. Whereas in fighting games, if the opponent has a chunk of life or full health, when you hit them, they react the same way. You don't get that information. And so, if Guilty Gear can kind of introduce a little bit of that. And in other words, I just love the philosophy that they're coming into this. I really, really like it. I really like it.
Yeah, for sure. And they even talked about things like how instant blocking wasn't what it probably should have been in the beta, and they are still thinking about how to tweak that, maybe in input, maybe in what it does. Like, they're actively tweaking this stuff even still. So some of the complaints that people had when it comes to that, to the fact that there were some mechanics that they didn't explain to you really, but that some players figured out over the course of the beta. They wanted to see what people would find, and that sort of thing. So I think it was a really interesting little document on what their philosophies are and where they're headed.
Yeah, they need to find uses for faultless defense too right now, because there's not really much use for it. Before, one of the most useful things was to make it so you could air block un-air blockable stuff, but now everything is air blockable, so it just doesn't matter.
this blog, I don't know if you noticed, it says that using faultless defense after an air dash makes you fall faster.
Yeah. People were discovering stuff like that, and so, I mean, as a way to alter your air dash, that's cool, but like it needs to also have a good defensive purpose as well. So, yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I thought that this post was pretty cool. Is there anything else you want to say about it?
I'm just overall, like, I'm so on board with so much of what they're doing. And, you know, again, you know, obviously I'm a big Guilty Gear fan, and, you know, it's easy for me to be positive about all this stuff. But honestly, the stuff that they're saying really adheres to a lot of my current philosophy of fighting games. And I say this as current because this is probably something that I've only come to the same conclusion myself in the last like 2 or 3 years of how I feel about fighting games. It has a lot to do with getting old too, but you know, there's just I realize now why fighting games aren't as popular and why they're not as fun to play as a lot of other genres, because fighting games have stopped giving those kind of proper endorphins. They've stopped giving that kind of information conveyance, and we've all kind of just gotten used to understanding stuff about fighting games through an external point. We have to understand that the tension is there when he has no health. We have to understand why throwing out a medium uppercut after being -2 is a really smart thing to do. You know, like these kind of things like that. Like, you as an audience member, you don't watch that and go, wow, that uppercut was awesome because he did it when he was -2, but he's at a range that he knew the opponent would throw out a 6-frame button because that's the only one that he could hit me with that would keep his turn. And like, you don't get that conveyance off of until you know the game so well. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I love Soul Calibur right now, is because a lot of times it's like, oh my god, I'm losing, hit, ring out, and it's just like, ha ha, you know, like, these kind of things are awesome. And I think fighting games are missing a lot of that. I think they really are missing a lot of that. And again, you know, for top players, they don't need that because they'll understand it. But it's really about the casuals. It's really about getting the conveyance for the audience, in my opinion. So, and the newcomers.
I just don't know what they want. I mean, I'm too disconnected from it, and I know that. I'm too inside of fighting games to, I think, like, really have a great vantage point of what somebody who's not super inside fighting games thinks about fighting games. Right. It's hard. Yeah. I'm like, there's too much fighting games around me for me to think about not fighting games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think, like, there are other games that are super complex and just don't have... When I watch League of Legends or Dota, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea.
Right. Now,
I don't know what the character does. I don't know why they did that. I have no idea. Just no clue at all.
Right. Exactly. But that's
super popular even still. I don't know.
That's just more because the game helps you from the playing standpoint, again, as well. And that's the thing about fighting games, though. Fighting games are supposed to have the advantage that you know what's going on a lot clearer visually because all the information is on screen. But it actually turns out to be one of the more kind of obtuse kind of things out there, which is the frustrating part for me, because it's a lot of those other games, their appeal comes from the fact that as a beginner, when you play it, you can kind of enjoy it. And as fighting games, it's hard to understand watching, and it's hard to understand enjoyment of it at the beginner level. And so you need to do that kind of conveyance of information, because fighting games are a very different kind of game. They're a different genre of game. They're a very in-the-moment kind of action-y kind of game, you know, like... It's constant action, and so you have to have that ability to appreciate the action and to feel the action as a beginner player. And a lot of the times you don't get that, in my opinion. So only 28.3% of players have a single win in ranked mode.
Oh, yeah. No, we've heard stats about like that, Jesus. That kind of thing before. I don't remember them offhand, but we've heard about that in many games. Actually, that may not be public information. I may be just talking about what people have told me who are developers on games, but...
Well, it says that apparently on the Steam community stats achievement is what they're looking at. And I guess one of the achievements is win a game online in ranked.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. I really like this phrase. I like this saying a lot from Glass Guts. Until you know how, you don't see that it's a sailboat. I think that's a really interesting statement.
Wait,
even aside from what we've been talking about.
How does that work?
Thanks for that. That's super cool. And then also, Hanzo Gonzo disagrees with you a lot and would like you to bring him on Jchensor. Alright. By the way, everybody yelled at you on the YouTube comments for your rant about the 3D games not being good.
Yeah, that's because they don't understand that I'm right. That's why. It's actually kind of...
so much.
It's kind of crazy how much of a genius I am about all this stuff, and that everybody is just a sheep out there, that they don't understand that 3D gaming is so flawed in so many different ways. I mean, if I actually have the chance to...
I don't know what I was thinking about bringing this back up. This was a bad idea.
I mean, honestly, if I explain it right, everybody would be like, you know what? Oh, shit, he's absolutely right. Like, I mean, that's exactly what happened. It's just everybody is stuck in this really terrible mindset that they have, that they're kind of drinking the juice right now. And then once I explain how bad it really is, people will be like, oh, shit, I can't believe he's such a genius. You know what
they say? Until you know how, you don't know that it's a sailboat. So, anyway, you want to take a break?
Sure.
All right.
Be right back, guys. Be right back.
All right, it's going. You don't get the sailboat thing?
Not really.
That's what Kaiser Freak says. Oh, you don't either? Okay, well, my understanding of it is just that if you see a contraption out there on the water, and you have no idea what it is, you don't know that it's a sailboat until you have learned already that it's a sailboat. It's some indeterminate thing. Could be anything.
Right.
Once you learn about it, it becomes to you this useful thing. It's a sailboat. It can go on the water. It can get me from place A to B. I don't need an engine for it. It's wind-powered. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you then learn about it, but you didn't know that at first. I think that's a cool statement. It's a cool phrasing of that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I just was taking out the part that I liked about it, Glass Guts, but I appreciate it. I'll be right back.
Sure. I mean, honestly, one of the hardest things about people understanding my 3D comment is that, you know, they keep trying to apply it to everything that I'm talking about. I mean, everything that they think I'm talking about. They don't realize what I'm actually talking about, why it's flawed and stuff like that, and why people don't understand it. And I think that that's the problem. People don't understand what I'm trying to say about it. Like I said, if I actually did a long stream about it, it would actually make a lot more sense. So I plan to do that. And, you know, that's also part and parcel of the problem of 3D games, too. I mean, most genius is misunderstood, King Vasuki, until people realize it, right? That's just the thing. Almost all genius is misunderstood until the genius is properly understood. Yeah. Sinstormer is on the right track. 3D on a 2D screen will always be flawed. Every genius is a sailboat, exactly. You don't realize it's genius until someone explains to you why it's genius. Every genius is a sailboat. I love it. I love it. Most geniuses out there are considered insane until people realize that it is genius.
I don't think that's true.
Trust me, people will understand. In the future, there will be the James Chen theorem of 3D gaming, and everybody will read it and be like, God, how did people not see this for the first like 12 or 15 years of 3D gaming? If they realized this early on, then they probably wouldn't have sucked as bad as they did, you know, for so long, or been as bland as they are.
12 or 13, dude. It's 25 years.
Yeah, you're right. 25 years. There you go.
It cracks me up. Your like perception of time is
so off.
Yeah, and I'm getting there myself. Like I see myself getting into that much more often now too.
Oh man.
It's
not even just fighting games either, right? I'm not even talking about fighting games. I'm just talking about attack, attack, dodge, attack, attack, dodge, attack, attack, dodge. It's like, it's just so... Ugh, God. What gameplay. Man. Amazing gameplay.
Alright, let's come back.
Alright, welcome back to the Tuesday show.
Welcome back.
Let's go.
We're going to get now to the 5-5 matchup series in which we discuss various fighting game topics of interest, as some proposed by viewers and some by us. The ones by us, we're going to start out with here.
Are 3D video games bad or... No, I'm just kidding.
No. Did you see the video of Harada talking about AI in Tekken?
I did not, but I got the gist of it just from reading the comments afterwards and such. Yeah, I mean, if you want to expand on it a little bit more detailed.
I will, yes. Well, there's not maybe a lot of detail, but what he said in short was that the question posed to him that he was answering was, what's the potential future role of AI in fighting games? And he said that what he thinks about when it comes to AI in fighting games in the future is execution, in short. Mm-hmm. So that maybe it could help players complete inputs, complete their commands by, you know, watching a player play for a while. I don't know if watching is the right word, but you know what I mean. And
it's kind of like
coming to understand what the player wants, and maybe a player screws up, but the AI is like, I knew that you wanted whatever move there instead, and just gives it to you.
Right.
You know, rather than like the AI is doing a phone texting autocomplete, but for your fighting game.
It's why for some reason on my phone Mario gets all caps no matter how I try to type it. I don't know why.
How'd that happen?
I don't know. I have no idea. But every time I write Mario or Tekken, it always tries to all caps them both, and I don't understand why. But
well, so anyway, this is his thought on what AI could be looking at doing in future fighting games.
Right.
Helping people's inputs, helping make the game so that it's not just about this execution barrier, making it so that it's playable by more people, making it so that games are not just hiding strong things behind difficult execution. What do you think about this?
Terrible. No.
Okay.
No. No. Worst idea ever. Like, seriously, one of the worst ideas that I've ever heard. Because you know me, that human error is one of my favorite aspects of fighting games. Like, that, the pressure to do the correct thing, to perform, to let the combo actually be done, and, you know, actually getting your instant air dashes when you need it, is what everything about competition is. Like I said, if we created a fighting game where as soon as you hit someone, the game froze, and a menu popped up, and you're like, I want to spend this much meter and maximize my damage, and then it does it for you, and it knows what the maximized damage combo is for you. This is the most boring video game I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, the whole point is that they could drop the combo. When you see someone do something like with Nikali and then they activate the super and you're like, did he do that too early? Oh my god, is he going to go under him? And then he goes under him and then he misses and then he loses because of that. That breeds the, you know, that creates the, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Like, oh, he's gonna win this as long as he doesn't drop this combo. You know, like, that's when you shoot the 3-pointer at the buzzer and that ball flying in the air lasts like 5 times longer than every other jump shot that you've ever watched. That breeds that kind of anticipation, that kind of heightened sense. And then when the result happens, that's the cathartic release, right? If I was trying to do an electric wing and just because I've done it 95% of the time, the 5% of the time that I miss it, the AI is like, no, you were pretty good at this before. Let's make you do this. I think just ruins everything about fighting games. Everything about fighting games. So...
when I listened to this, the first thing that I thought was, this could only have come from the developer of a game with an electric wind godfist. He's trying to find some way to make their move that they have tied to unreasonable execution barriers for 50 years not just be tied to 5 people on Earth being able to do it.
Yep.
That was my feeling. I was like, you are desperately looking for a way for this to actually be usable.
Yeah, especially with all the...
Like, I don't care about the idea of an electric wind godfist. I mean, I know that some people do. For me, it doesn't matter. So I think that he's trying to find some way to do that. This sounds bad for Tekken. It sounds bad for most fighting games out there. I do think it could be pretty cool if a game was designed from the ground up to, like, not need to worry about execution at all. That would be obviously quite a different game. It totally different story. Maybe you would just call it Rising Thunder or something. But I think that could be cool. I'm on board with the idea of that. But as far as a game like the current fighting games that are out there, yeah, I'm not into it. And I definitely see what you mean about execution creating this sort of tension that you don't necessarily know what's going to happen.
Right.
For sure. And as a viewer, as a commentator, that tension is something that is great. You know, that's a big part of what some hype moments are about. But I can imagine a game that's designed where you don't necessarily need that. Maybe something else is highlighted instead. So I'm not opposed to it when it comes to that. I just think that for the games that we currently have, like, maybe just change the input of Electric Wind Godfist. Just, like, make it more lenient so more people can do it. If that's, like, if you are struggling so much that you're like, what if we bring in machine learning AI so that people can finally do this video game move after 30 years? Maybe just make it a little easier? I don't know. And, you know, again, I don't care about it. If it's something that you care about, that's fine. But for me, it doesn't matter. If he himself, as the developer of the game, is trying to find a way to make it usable, it seems like that would be the first step rather than this long future of what about machine learning AI watching you play over time. And it would be hard to make practical anyway, in the sense that could you just, like, pop up over to your buddy's house and play their Tekken? Because their Tekken doesn't know you. It doesn't know how your execution is. It doesn't know your weird little foibles. Everybody has a very different execution, right? It doesn't know what you typically do, and so will it be there to save you when you screw up in a way that you typically screw up, but your friend's machine doesn't know that you typically screw up, right? Maybe you have to sign in everywhere you go into your little user account. I don't know. It just seems like it'd be impractical for that reason, too.
The thing about it is, like, I don't even think that that's the case, because, like, I don't feel like it's trying to make it accessible to everyone, because it sounds like, to me, you have to be able to have known how to do it before the game actually does it for you, right? I don't know if it's supposed to be a shadow mode thing, or if it's like, you meant to... I mean, like, if it's literally, I think you meant to do it here, yeah, then just make it an easier input. Who the heck cares, right? I mean, the biggest problem with Tekken right now is that one move and that move that Heihachi has are literally tied to, joystick. The difficulty comes from the joystick. And like I said, there are easy ways to change it so that it can be hard on every single input device out there. The problem with it is that it ruins just the legacy people. That's all it does. So it's just not a good idea in any shape, like way, shape, or form, unless, like you said, it was designed from the ground up to be that kind of game. Like, if you've already designed that kind of game, but then, you know, why not just Rising Thunder it and make all of your special moves, you know, a single button press? Then you don't even have to worry about that at all, right? Just,
maybe you meant to crouch in one instance because you crouched there 99 out of 100 times. So you're always blocking. But then the one time you don't block, the game's like, well, you probably meant to do down back here, actually. So here's a block for you.
Yeah, this is like the worst thing. I don't know. It's just like there's nothing. And like, for example, in the autocorrect style, there will be the times where you're like, I actually didn't want to block here the 1% of the time because I actually had some genius play here. And then the game's
right.
like, oh, you meant to block. And you're like, no, I was making a pun. Don't correct my spelling, you know, to erase my pun kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So
now I have to add this spelling of this word into my dictionary forever, right?
Yeah, exactly. Again, you know, look, the genius of esports, of any sort of sport, of any sort of competition, is that it is about human versus human, and mistakes happen, whether they're execution mistakes, whether they're decision mistakes or something. It's all about the person versus the person, and having to play as perfectly as possible, you know. And the fact that human beings will not ever be able to achieve perfection, not be able to achieve perfection, is the entire basis of competition on this planet. And so if you try to make AI compensate for your mistakes so that you can play by perfection, I don't want to play it anymore. I don't want to see people always making the right decision. I don't want to see people always executing their combos. I don't want to see people making 100% of the baskets that they throw up. I don't want to see people batting 100% of the balls that are thrown at them. You know, like, the whole point is that competition is supposed to be hard, right? I mean, like I said, everything becomes a competition. Pizza folding boxes, pizza tossing, cup stacking, everything becomes a competition because of the difficulty, not because of the ease.
Yeah. And we've talked about this in the past. I think we're both on board with the idea of accessibility, and especially for some games. Again, the idea of like a Rising Thunder where you just don't need to do complex inputs. That's cool. I think that's totally fine. Mm-hmm. I've been on board with the sort of slight easing of execution in general. You go back to like Super Turbo and the requirements for a Dragon Punch are quite severe.
Yeah.
Same in Third Strike. It didn't need to be like that, right? In my view, like that's not something that actually adds interesting stuff to the game, really. But yeah, the idea to me of accessibility is great. That said, when it comes to traditional fighting games, I like the idea of having some barrier, even as somebody who for many years struggled with like accessibility issues. To be honest, mm-hmm. I still get why that's something that people find interesting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Terrible idea.
maybe thinking about something else when it comes to AI. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about the viewer's choice.
Sure.
For 5-5 matchup. What topic should we cover tonight? We have 5 suggestions. Number 1, what do you feel is the adequate amount of time between generations of games? So like Street Fighter 4 to Street Fighter 5. To allow a game to bake, quote unquote bake, right? Be the previous version of the game that is like being done.
Right, yeah. Or we figured out how to play the game, you know.
Right, exactly, yeah. 2, why does it seem that the NRS community is one of the few that doesn't stick to a single series line, switching between Mortal Kombat and Injustice each time, for example, whereas others stick to their games, even by the same developer, like BlazBlue versus Guilty Gears. You know, there's a little bit of crossover, but those are pretty distinct scenes. Why doesn't the NRS scene do it like that? 3, What would you consider to be safe enough for returning to offline events?
Ooh.
4. Would you like to see NetherRealm make a fighting game with the Marvel license? 5. Why are there so few low complexity / reasonably deep fighting games in the market, like Sam Show and Fantasy Strike? Is this an underserved niche, or is there not enough demand? So those are the topics suggested for today. The winner is number 5. Why are there so few low complexity / reasonably deep fighting games in the market, e.g. Sam Show and Fantasy Strike? Is this an underserved niche, or is there not enough demand?
That was not the one I was expecting to win. Interesting. Okay. Oh, dang, it barely won, too.
It did. Yeah, by a single vote, I think.
Yeah, by a single vote. It's an interesting question. I mean, I feel like I don't know if it's necessarily underserved niche, or if there's not there's too few of them, because I feel like Granblue kind of feels into this, as well. They've got both options of being able to use single special move buttons. They've got a block button and things like this, and so I don't feel like this is necessarily an underserved niche. I feel like when you look at the grand scheme of things, like Street Fighter, it runs the whole gamut. I think that it actually does a good job running the whole entire kind of rainbow of complexity, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, I was about to say that I think Street Fighter V isn't particularly complex either, right? Like, the inputs in that game are very straightforward. It's just a lot of frame data knowledge barrier kind of thing, but it is a low complexity, high, deep, reasonably deep fighting game. So I don't think that that's actually the case. I feel like that market is actually served pretty decently. So yeah, I guess that's what I'll say.
Ooh, I took a big bite of that salmon just now. As far as the idea of low complexity / reasonably deep fighting games in the market, I don't think that Street Fighter V fits that bill. I think that this is really intended to be on the lower end of things.
Right.
I think that's what this question is referencing. I think these games are very simple and very boring. You guys know my opinions,
right?
On these two games. I think these are probably the two worst fighting games of the past 10 years for me. So I don't know that I have like a great. I clearly don't see the interest, right? That's very obvious.
Right.
So I'm not the person who should be telling you that I think that it's underserved or not, or that there's not enough demand. I don't know. It's not something I pay attention to. I'm removed to the extent that I can be from that stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. I certainly support other people playing the games that they like. And if you like that kind of game, or if it's something that you think is useful, then I think it's great that there are games that are for people who like that. They're not for me, but I'm glad that those do exist. And it doesn't seem to me like there's none, like it's underserved. Yeah, I don't know. Those are two examples right there, and there aren't so many fighting games that 2 is some tiny percentage, right? I mean, there's
right.
I don't know, is there like a dozen fighting games that are like actively being made and played at any one time? Something like that. It's not like a ton of games. So for 20% of them, or 16.67 of them, or whatever, to be low complexity, reasonably deep, almost barfed, low complexity fighting games, yeah, that seems like a pretty reasonable number to me.
Yeah, I mean, some people even mention that, don't forget that SNK Heroines existed as well. Like I said, even a game like Metal Revolution's coming out. That doesn't have high-low blocking in it either. It's also,
Okay.
yeah, that's also just a pure left-right mix-up kind of game. You know, so like I said, I just don't feel like it's an underserved market, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there that exists for this because, I mean, High Fight has footsies, right? I mean, footsies is out there as well. Dive Kick is still out there if you really want to play Dive Kick. Sure. You know, there's so many different ways to, you know, get that, I think. So, I don't know. You know, I don't think it's necessarily an underserved market. You know. So.
Yeah, it's really tasty pro visual fight. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to say on this one?
No, not really. I don't agree, I guess, with what the question is postulating. Let's put it that way. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. As for the reason that there aren't that many more, I would say it's probably more about lack of demand. But again, I think I agree with you that 2 to 3 or 4, again, like whatever you want to define these as, is actually a pretty reasonable percentage of the current fighting games that are being worked on and actively played.
Yeah, because SNK Heroines is the same thing. There's no crouching in SNK Heroines. So it's just jumping and standing attack, same kind of thing. So like I said, there's a lot of games out there. Yeah, there's no high-low in SNK Heroines either. So there's a lot of games out there that have the kind of thing. I mean, David's basically saying that he's not interested in those games.
I'm just saying I'm not interested.
Right, yeah.
Certainly there are people who are interested in them. They're playing those games actively.
But again, you know, like I said...
Right. They should be playing the games that they like.
Yeah, and, you know, I have friends who tell me that SNK Heroines is far more deep and, you know, interesting than I gave it credit for. I mean, not that I gave it credit for, I just never played it because I hated the storyline so much that I just refused to play it. But, you know, again, I really enjoy Sam's Show. I really enjoyed Granblue. I think those are all really great games. I've never played Fantasy Strike. I probably never will play Fantasy Strike. Not for the reason that people probably think I wouldn't play the game.
I don't know.
Maybe. I just don't want to have the potential for me to hate it and to shit on the game. That's just basically what it comes down to.
Wow.
I just don't want to.
You already did.
I just don't want to say anything bad about the game if it turns out I don't like it. It could turn out that it could turn out that I love the game. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Okay. But as long as I never play it, I can't have an opinion on it, and so I can't say anything about the game, and that's good enough. So
yeah, what Infeld says is definitely right, is that anytime two humans are playing anything against each other, there's going to be some extra depth, or there will be some depth. Sometimes, well, that's maybe not true. Sometimes the games are solved. You just know it's tic-tac-toe about it. But in general, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And, you know, again, I'll stick up for Sam's Show here. I think Sam's Show is absolutely... Well, I mean...
You should.
I'll stick up for the gameplay of Samurai Showdown. There's not much else to stick up for when it comes to net code and lobby code and all that stuff like that. But I mean,
we're talking about gameplay, and I know that you like it. I think that's great.
And you know, as much as everyone wants to say, "Oh, it's a simple game and no complexity," I actually disagree. I think the game has a lot of complexity to it because the decision making is hard to make. It's hard to make decisions in that game. So I think that is really, really strong. Yeah, middle space. If you go first in tic-tac-toe, you are guaranteed to never lose. That's just basically what it is. You will either win or tie. Like, you can never lose. As long as you play in the middle space, the game is solved, and that's the end of it right there. So
yeah, most games are not like that.
Yeah, exactly. So,
alrighty. I'd like to talk about the first question, which just barely missed out on tying for first place here. What do you feel is the adequate amount of time between generations of games to allow a game to bake? I think this is an interesting question. I like the idea of it because it's something that I feel like we have a pretty good amount of experience on now, especially in the past dozen years or so.
Yeah.
Where, you know, new games have come out. Some of them have come out pretty often a 2-year window, and some of them have come out after, well, never. In some cases, no Marvel 3 sequels. Marvel Infinite is a different story, right? So there's, I would say a minimum of 4 to 5 years is when I feel like a game has gotten to a point where people have, it's baked. What does that mean? It means that we know the rules, we know what the characters do, there's no more surprises. Wow, did you know that interaction happens? Like, that kind of gets figured out at some point.
More just that we understand what the pace of the game is supposed to be, where the strategies come from, what are the most potent mix-ups, those kind of things. Like, how do you open up your opponent, basically?
Yeah, and that's something that always takes a while to learn. That's been the case in every game that I've ever spent time with. It's going back to when I first picked up ST and when I first picked up Third Strike and when I was playing SF4 along with everybody else and SF5 and Mortal Kombat and Marvel 3 and whatever. Like, there's always this period where people are like, this is the best thing in the game, and then it turns out like a month later it's actually not even good. You know, it's always happened in every game that I've figured out. MK11 right now, I was just talking about how I think Johnny is like one of the best in the game. Combat used him to beat Joker, who I also think is one of the best in the game. When MK11 came out, there were humans out there who were saying Johnny sucks and he needs an overhead and he's got too many highs and whatever, right? They're just super wrong, and that was clear within just a few months, but that kind of trend always continues for at least a few years.
I mean, when Street Fighter V first came out, you know, I don't think Ryu was going to be considered one of the strongest characters had we just played Season 1 for a very long time. In Street Fighter 4 Vanilla, like, Gen got nerfed, and everyone's like, why would you nerf him to Super? And like, everyone in San Diego was like, we know why. You know? We know. And clearly we were playing Season 1 of Street Fighter 4 completely wrong. Like, now that we understand the Vortex, we probably would have gotten really good at landing stupid unblockables with the Ultras and stuff like that, you know? There's just so many things that we got wrong in Street Fighter 4 Season 1. And like I said, Street Fighter 5, and it's not even just the mechanics, right? The mechanics aren't necessarily what changed, but even within the course of the first year, right? We saw Nash obviously was considered one of the top 7 characters, and he was so good. By the end of the year, Nash, we kind of figured it out because it just felt like more like Infiltration was kind of ahead of the curve on what Street Fighter 5 was supposed to be. You know, and he played it right. And by the end of Season 1, I don't even think Nash was in that vaunted top 7 list that everybody had anymore. You know, he got nerfed afterwards, but I'm saying even within Season 1, he became weaker by the end of the year once we figured out how to Nash with everybody else. Essentially, you know.
Yeah, for me, what baking is really about is whether we are still finding new stuff about the game. You're always going to find out some little new stuff. Occasionally, even ST is still getting some stuff figured out. Like, there's just always going to be a little bit at least. But as far as what the strategies, the
pacing,
best options, the mix-ups, that we know it at some point. And to me, that's what a game is to be baked. I don't know. I've never really used this term before, but we're using it.
I mean, for me,
that's what I'm understanding it to mean. So what and that's like my favorite time.
Yeah.
My two favorite times when it comes to a fighting game are the first like month when everybody's doing the mad dash to find what's the cool tech, what are the cool combos, you know, all that. I like that a lot. But then I also really like, after several years, when we know almost everything, and now it's just like, all right, there's no secrets, right? We're all playing the game, we all know what everything is. Who can make the best decisions?
Right. One of the things
I love that as well.
One of the things that I always talk about fighting games that's so important to me is understanding the game's pace, understanding the game's rhythm, and, you know, that's what it took me for a long time in Street Fighter V. I really didn't understand the game's pace and the rhythm as a player, but once I started understanding that, that's what helped me become a much stronger player all of a sudden in the game, and that's when I feel like, you know, when the top players have figured out the pace and the rhythm of the game, that's when a game is considered baked. You know, like we understand what it is, and like you said, nothing like there's outside of a glitch or some weird bug. Like, we're not going to find anything that's going to drastically change how the game is played. You know, I don't even feel like we need that much time, especially nowadays. Like, I don't even know if 4 to 5, because I feel like people kind of understood it in the season 3 of Street Fighter V. I just think the characters got more interesting, which is, you know, made the game a lot more fun and enjoyable. But you look at a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ, it's in its 3rd year right now, but people kind of know what the rhythm of that game is supposed to be.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe 3-ish, I could see.
They had to add a new comeback mechanic to the game because their original comeback mechanic was baked so much that they realized it wasn't a comeback mechanic. It was a protect your first character mechanic, you know? So, I mean, even something like MK11 has been out for 3 years, and I think a lot of the top players kind of know how that game feels at this point, right? Like, they know...
well, it's been out for a year and a half.
Is this not its 3rd year?
Right? Am I wrong? What year is it? 2020? Yeah, it came out in April of 2019, I think.
Did it? Holy crap. Okay, so it's only a year and a half. I thought this game's been out for... I thought we were in its 3rd year already. Well, never mind. Okay.
Dude. Yeah.
But, I mean, even still, after a year and a half, I feel like a lot of people have a good read on... you know, how the game should be played and, like, how it feels. Obviously, they've just added new mechanics and stuff, so...
I'm not so sure, but, yeah, maybe.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I just had assumed it's been out for that much longer already.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I mean, I really do feel like probably around 3 years these days for it to... But the thing about it is, I want to see games continue to be played after they've been baked. I think that's really important to maximize the knowledge that we have for the game. So even if a game gets baked after 3 years, we should definitely still be playing it for another 2 to 3 years because, one, you know, they will be adding new characters. Even the developers will understand it. The reason why I think characters like Lucia, Honda, Seth, and Gil, and these characters have come out so interesting is because the developers know what they're doing. They know what the game is baked to now. So when they design the characters, they know what they're doing with them. And it's super interesting. Like I said, all you have to do is play Lucia and just see what her combo routes are, and just see every single place that the developers denied you a combo. And you know that they know what they're doing. It is not accident. What's that?
They have definitely learned about their game as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so they have a stronger understanding. And so, you know, getting baked for a game is such a weird term because it just doesn't sound right at all. 3 years to get to that point, and then another 2 to 3 years to really feel like the best players are the best and we are getting the maximum enjoyment out of that game. 6 years, I think.
Yeah, part of why I'm so happy that Street Fighter V is going to be supported, I guess, until 2022.
Yeah.
That's when their little roadmap implied. And that's great. I'm super excited to be able to play the game for another couple years.
Yep.
In a state in which we basically know everything. They're going to, I guess, add some small... Well, I don't know if it's small. They're going to have some new game mechanic. There are going to be some new characters. There will be a little bit of exploration. But we know the game. And I think it's great. And that's cool. I really am hoping that Mortal Kombat 11 gives us more time.
Yeah.
And they keep giving us these little hints. You know, Ed Boon every now and then is like talking about how there's plenty more to come. I hope that that's true because I really want to have the experience of playing a fully baked NRS game, and I haven't. I haven't had that experience.
You know, and you know what?
Stopped playing after 1.5 to 2 years. Each of the last MK9, Injustice 1, NKX, Injustice. Yeah, 4 games so far.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that again.
I mean, honestly, I think the scene also hasn't had that experience as well, and I think that's super important for them because, as we've discussed in the past, you know, and that's kind of one of the questions in here as well, that, you know, they don't stick to the game. It's because they get fed up with a lot of the things that happen. We've talked about this in the past. They get very angry about the mechanics and stuff like that. We've seen Mr. Aquaman talk about this a lot, you know, that they complain about things. And it's because they have the expectation that in 2 years they'll have a new game to learn something new and then get mad at that game and then, you know, learn. If we actually give NRS the ability to play a game well beyond the 2 years, I think that actually would help the scene a lot. Not I'm saying that they're flawed or that they need help, but just in a way that maybe they can understand that they would start, instead of hoping that patches are going to come and fix everything or that they think everything is broken, you know, to really kind of learn how to play around those kind of things. Because that's, I think, is a key factor to becoming one of the strongest in a game. You know, to really maximizing a game for what it is. It's like, you know, people want more defensive options in Street Fighter V and then they hate uppercuts. Like, the same person will complain about both things. It's like in Mortal Kombat, when people were saying that the anti-air normals were too strong, and then they were also complaining that the jump-ins were too strong, right? You know, it's like, instead of complaining about these things, understanding how to play the game in the way that it was created, to really understand it, I think is a really powerful tool to have in your mindset.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, do you want to move on? Do you want to cover any of the rest of these here?
All I will say is that I don't want NetherRealm anywhere near the Marvel license. Look, DC is supposed to be gritty. Okay. It's supposed to be real. They always have this thing about trying to make it real world. So if everybody's going to stand like a human and walk like a human and fight like a human, fine, that's fine for DC. But if Spider-Man ever stands upright like this and then walks up and goes punch, 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 like I will make my own meme of Tom Cruise tossing the game off the boat. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep, I could see that. I could just do these other ones real fast. What would you consider to be safe enough for returning to offline events? Just when health experts say that it's fine. I mean, I'm no expert, all right? And I trust the experts. When they say it's okay, I'll come back.
Vaccine.
That's all there is to it.
Vaccine.
If there's a vaccine.
If there's a vaccine.
Right.
I don't think it's safe until we have a vaccine. That's just it.
Probably be like that, at least in the U.S.
Yeah.
And then, why does it seem that the NRS community is one of the few that doesn't stick to a single series line, switching between MK and Injustice? I think that historically that's because the competitive scene has not been very large, but it does seem like that appetite is there now.
Right.
There have been, I didn't talk about this last week, but Forever King and Slayer, I think was what it was, they had a NRS Game Olympics.
Oh,
and
so cool.
So they played, I think it was first to 10 in Mortal Kombat 9, Injustice 1, MKX, Injustice 2, and MK11.
That's so cool.
Super cool. Yeah, definitely. So there, and not even just that, but there have been tournaments lately for Injustice 2. There's still stuff occasionally for MKX. Arma, bless his heart, has been playing the crap out of Injustice 1. So there is, it seems, an appetite for more games now. I hope that's true. I hope that people can play whichever those they prefer. Yeah.
It would be
I know that some people prefer Mortal Kombat, in part because it's Mortal Kombat, and that matters a lot to them, but in part because they like the style, the gameplay itself. And other people really like the Injustice style, or they really like the Injustice mechanics, or whatever it is. I think that'd be great if people felt like they could stick with the game that they actually care about, for sure. And maybe that'll happen this time, especially if MK11 is supported for the next couple of years still, in which case I think many of us will probably be playing MK11. I mean, I will be. But also, if you're not somebody who actively really likes Mortal Kombat 11, and you think, well, there's not going to be like Injustice 3 for like 2 or 3 years, I hope that you'll go back and play the game that you care about. You know, I hope that that's the reason for you to do that instead of to continue playing a game that you don't really like that much. So I hope that this is changing. We'll see.
So just to address something that Sinstormer says in the chat is, how do you make sure people have taken that vaccine? The point is that you can protect yourself. If someone doesn't want to take the vaccine, they're hurting themselves, right? But for those of us who believe in vaccines and can actually protect ourselves from it, at least we have that option. We don't. That's why we want other people to wear masks, because we can't protect ourselves from them. You know what I mean? That the way to protect ourselves from them is them wearing a mask. So,
right. Yeah, us having vaccines, us being vaccinated does help, because there are people who cannot get vaccines for various reasons. It's not that they're opposed to it; it's that it's dangerous
right.
for them.
Okay, that's fair. That's
so
fair too.
Enough people have to be vaccinated for those people to effectively be protected, because there can't be community transmission.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So that's for example, why everybody should get a flu vaccine who can, because you're protecting not just yourself, but also by like contributing to that sort of group immunity, you're making it so people who can't have vaccines are also going to be protected. Anyway, we'll see. That's probably not for a while.
I mean,
all right, let's move on then.
Yeah. Okay.
So, let's get to some game news. Some people in the chat I saw earlier were saying, David, why did you title this episode Jury Wins Again? Twice. And that's because in Street Fighter V, can you click on the... Well, maybe you don't need to click on it. We've already shown them on screen, I guess.
Yeah.
The costume design contest final rankings are out now. There was a window of time in which you could like the tweet of whichever tweet had your favorite Street Fighter V costume design. We showed them off on stream a couple of weeks ago. And in not at all, not even a little bit of a surprise, the first entry by 2,500 votes, no, by 1,500 votes, was Jury, the one where she has the like hot legs and butt. It's the one where she's in a pose that she never takes in the game. And it's like the sexiest drawing up here. And like obviously it won. You know, it's very nice in terms of like the art. Like it's hats off, artists. Like it looks great. But
right.
Anyway, that's the one that won. Very pretty. Second place was the other Jury. So there were two that were going to be selected. The rules are a little nebulous, but the top two are the ones that are supposed to get the nods.
Right.
And so if they abide by that, that means that they're going to be two new Jury costumes rather than any other character. Third place was the Sakura, which was also pretty cool. That one had 18,000. Oh, I should just say the numbers, right? So first place was 20,400 votes. Second place was 18,800 votes. Third place was 18,000 votes. So pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, Richard had a big push for that last costume there, you know, and a lot of people tried to help him push for that as well. And
it got close. 18,000 is where it ended up. Fourth place, 10,900. Way behind. Yeah. Way behind. Was fourth place Alex, actually. Then it was Vega, then Laura, then Zangief, then Honda, then Minot, then Mika, then Boxer, then Guile.
Okay.
So those are the results. I am a little surprised by some of these things. I thought for sure that I definitely thought these were the top three. No, I guess I thought the Vega was going to be up in top 4 or so as well. Okay. I thought that Alex was one of the few other ones that could make top 5. So actually, maybe I mostly did get this right. But I thought that there would be maybe a little bit more for Mika, for example. That didn't quite happen.
Yeah, but instead we get Hips Don't Lie Jury and Underboob Jury, and there we go. So
there we go.
Yeah.
The thing is that they both have cool ideas in them. So it's not like I'm super opposed to it. You know, the idea of her like having the Seth little rash thing there.
Yeah.
The bison hat, like it's some cool ideas in that. And then the other jury one with the spider thing was kind of cool. We actually had a viewer send in a translation of
Yeah.
Japanese that I thought was pretty cool. Added a lot of value to it from what I didn't know before. Very spider related.
And also,
so I thought that was pretty nifty.
It's also Japanese, like kind of like the teenage gangs, kind of themed in there as well. You see a lot of people with that kind of costumes in fighting games because, or in video games, because there is that theme in Japan of just kind of having that outfit as the gang kind of outfit.
Right.
Sakura.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool once I knew a little bit more about it. So I don't think that either of these costumes sucks or anything. I just think it's maybe a bummer that they're both Jury.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been nice to give another character some love, but you know, that's the way it works. So, not going to, as you said, like none of the art is bad, right? I mean, both of them obviously the art is wonderful and everything, but you know, it's just, I guess for this reason, maybe if they release a new balance patch, let's buff Jury a little bit more, just so we can see the costumes here. So.
All right. There's a little bit of other Street Fighter V news. It is one of the free games in this month's PlayStation Plus. So you can go in if you're a subscriber for PlayStation Plus, and you can play SF5 for free. Now, that is not Champion Edition. That's Street Fighter V. Okay, so you're not going to have access to all the characters or all the stages. My understanding is that you still will be able to play online, and that the characters that you have access to are patched, like they're up to date.
Right.
But you don't have any of the new stuff.
Right.
If you are curious, check it out. I don't know, if you're somebody who's watching this show.
I was about to say
Street Fighter V, then maybe now's your time. But
right.
Capcom also announced that Tokyo Game Show 2020 will have some Street Fighter V news in it.
Okay.
They haven't really said what the specifics of that are. I think we can probably guess that they'll talk about Dan. Seems likely. Maybe about the other characters too. Maybe about whatever new game mechanic could be. Who knows, right? But that'll be on September 26th at 5 a.m. Pacific time. I did the math on that.
I forget.
So it'll be James Chen dinner hours.
Yeah, basically. Dude, that's not even a joke. I actually have eaten dinner around that time. I'm not even lying to you. But I forgot. When's that new mechanic supposed to come out? Was that supposed to come out with Dan, or was that one of the later updates?
I think that's the Dan one. I have to bring it back up. I have our runs of show right up here, so I can figure it out pretty quickly, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's probably just going to be like a second super, I would imagine. Like, hey, here's a second critical art you can choose from now.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a big difference either.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here.
Or maybe a new kind of V reversal.
Yeah, Winter 2020 will have Dan, new stage, new costume, new battle mechanic, and new battle balance.
Okay,
so, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Cool. Oh, now I got to get back up to the one that we're supposed to be on today. Okay, alright. Is that it for Street Fighter V? I think that might be it. Yes! Again, that's going to be September 26th that their TGS stuff will air. Mm-hmm. In Dragon Ball FighterZ, they announced in the game itself that they will be imposing restrictions on players who deliberately disconnect.
Yeah.
And those are... We will now be imposing restrictions on players who deliberately disconnect during online matches. These players will be restricted from entering online lobbies for a set period of time, about 1 week. During this restricted period, players will still be able to play the game in the offline lobby. If you are unintentionally disconnecting several times, please check your internet connection settings. If a player is found to be repeatedly engaging in the above behavior, the restrictions mentioned above may become permanent for that player.
I always forget.
So they may just kick you out forever, ultimately.
What's the current situation on, like Killer Instinct? I know they had like the rage quit punishing and stuff like that. Did it actually end up like really panning out and becoming successful and work really well? Because I remember at first, like a lot of people would get false positived. So Killer Instinct system is awful, actually, says TubeAware. Okay. So, because here's the thing, right? again, it's peer-to-peer connection. So when someone disconnects, it's really kind of hard to tell who disconnected. Because if they unplug and plug back in, it's really hard to tell who disconnected. So if you're someone who does that all the time, yeah, you will be punished properly. Now let's say you're Hook Gang God, and it's like round 1 fight, and you destroy the opponent's first character instantly, and it's their favorite character, and they're like, well, I can't win anymore, so they disconnect on you. That's a disconnect for both players. Now, obviously, Hook Gang God's not going to do that, but the next guy he plays, he destroys their first character instantly, and the guy's like, well, screw this, unplugs and plugs back in. And then Hook Gang God plays the third person, and the guy unplugs and plugs back in. Now Hook Gang God is the one that looks like the rage quitter. And so he will get put in jail. This is why rage quitting has never been solved in fighting games yet, because it's so far largely unsolvable. And so that could actually get in there. That's the thing, Saint, is that they can't tell who quit. If you disconnect and plug back in and both games go, oh, quick, talk to the server to find out who's disconnected, well, you've already plugged your cable back in. So both of them will communicate, and they're like, we're both here. Who was the one who disconnected? How do you know? There is no way for the game to know who intentionally disconnected. All they know is that it's a disconnect. The only way it works is if they both play through a server, but then that will increase input delay, game delay, etc., etc. Peer-to-peer is the best way to do it. So if you just get a disconnect and then they plug back in, there's no way really for the game to tell whose internet caused that disconnect. That's the problem. So there's really no way for this to be solved. So they connect to a server first, yeah, and then they make you peer-to-peer. That's how they all work. You all connect to the server, then they make you guys connect to each other, and then the server is gone. And so then if the disconnect happens, the only way to be able to tell is that as soon as the disconnect happens, the machine pings the server as fast as it can, and whichever one gets there and the other one doesn't, then you know who rage quit. But if you unplug and plug in right away, then they'll both try to ping it, and then it will successfully ping it, and then it doesn't really know. So, but no one's disconnecting from the server. This is the problem. No one is disconnecting from the server. People have to understand that. Once you're matched up, you go peer-to-peer. No one is connected to a server anymore. The server has nothing to do with it. Once the match ends, they both report the results to the server at that point. But there's no way for the server to know who disconnected. That's the problem.
Yeah, Flotas is right. The trolls are taking notes right now.
Yeah, well, they do it. They've already been doing it. This is what they've been doing the whole time.
Quitality. Well, we'll see how this stuff works out for Dragon Ball. Yeah. We talked a lot about the Guilty Gear Strive stuff already. We talked about the Tekken stuff already. So that's actually all I got for game notes.
Okay.
For community news. Got some stuff. ArcRevo America Online 2020. ArcRevo America Online 2020. It's kind of funky the way that they're doing it. So there are online regional qualifiers for each of 5 regions: the Northwest, Southwest, Midwest, Southeast, Northeast of the U.S. And the top 2 players for each of the games that are being played in this, which are just BB Tag and Grand Blue Fantasy, will form a team of 4, right? So 2 per each of those games, to represent their region at the finals. So finals has a team-based structure, which is pretty interesting. You know, I don't know that there's been a finals like this kind of format, really. That's, I don't know, interesting, if nothing else.
Right.
The finals are planned for SoCal, December 5th, 2020, but prominently says in the little thing where they talked about it in Smash GG, and then there's a little PDF you can download, prominently says in yellow highlighted text, it may be postponed or canceled.
Right.
But at least they are going to run the online stuff for sure. The regional finals will have $250 pot bonuses per game, and the finals will have $20,000 per game, which comes out to, for first place, $2,500 for the individuals, right, 4 people on each team. So there you go. It's kind of an interesting arrangement that they got going on. The second place team gets $4,000 total, otherwise $1,000 per player. The third team gets $2,000 total, $500 per player.
Okay.
In addition, the winning region for each game will receive a trip to Japan to compete in an exhibition series against the best players in Japan.
And probably again...
So this all sounds cool. It might get totally blown up by the fact that definitely COVID won't be over in the United States in early December. But, you know, we'll see how it goes.
Okay. What else you got?
Street Fighter V, I guess I separated this just because it's maybe a little bit more community style. There are PS4 online tournaments coming. So the PlayStation has been having tournaments for a few different fighting games. There was one for Mortal Kombat, right? That's just today. In fact, they're keeping that up. That stuff's been going on for quite a while. They've been doing it for a few different fighting games. That is now coming to Street Fighter V. So there are going to be tournaments starting September 4th through October 3rd. Open qualifiers are in a Swiss tournament format, which is interesting. And the top 64 finishers per open qualifier will go to the next stage. The finals will be October 3rd in a group stage tournament format. And the winners of the monthly finals could win a share of the $1,000 prize pool. So this is cool. You know, it's on PlayStation itself. The way to sign up is a lot easier. You just sign up on events, the events tab on the console itself. It's just like built in there. So check it out. Like I said, this is stuff that they've been doing for other games already, but now Street Fighter V is going to have it as well.
Okay.
For a couple other community things, I wanted to shout out the MK11 Champions of the Realms, which is a series that Destroyer and Caboose are putting on for Mortal Kombat 11. This is going to be an 8-week-long qualifier thing. There's going to be a finale afterwards. The first week starts this week, and signups I think are actually already over for this week, but it will be continuing over the next 8 weeks. Like I said, there's got a Matcherino for it. There's going to be a $150 top 3 weekly payout and a $1,000 top 8 finale. So they've definitely got some support for this, which is awesome. So shout outs to them for putting this together. Find more info, Destroyers at Twitter at DestroyerFGC. And then another thing I wanted to shout out was what Damascus has been doing on his stream. He's been doing this for a while as well. We just haven't talked about it. Super Wednesday is something that he's been doing where he has exhibitions for top players in some different games come on and battle. And he's done Street Fighter, he's done Dragon Ball. I don't know if there's other stuff that he's done, but I've definitely seen at least those two.
Okay.
And for example, last week he had like Hurricane versus Luffy and Momi versus Afi and Mr. Crimson up there, and there's a bunch of different players who get involved. So check that out. His Twitch is twitch.tv/ZDamascus. So good work.
Tubaware, that's actually not true. I will not be streaming Outer Wilds tomorrow. I'll probably be moving it to Thursday. I've been tasked to do Wednesday Night Fights again tomorrow, so I'll be doing Wednesday Night Fights tomorrow. Just as an FYI, I'll be moving it to Thursday. So
let's talk about some cool stick innovations. Can you put these on the internet?
Sure.
So we did talk about the Paradise Arcade Shop one, the MPress. It is finally available for pre-order. This is that very thin hitbox style layout stick that they have designed that we saw back in Evo 2019, I guess it was.
Yeah.
That they've been working on for quite a while. They are finally doing pre-orders for that.
Dude, my favorite thing about this stick is that when we talked about it the last time on our show, I had worried about its durability and whether or not that it could, like, was it going to snap in half in your luggage or whatever? And the guys actually saw that, and they sent us a video of them putting it like in between like blocks and having nothing under it and like standing on it.
Yep.
And it lasted. They drove over it with a car.
It fit right under the wheel and drove over it. Yep.
Yeah. So, they actually did a bunch of tests, and it showed out that it was very durable. So, shout outs to them.
I think that's awesome. Yeah.
But this would be
again. So this is now available for pre-order. Check it out.
An excellent traveling stick as well. Just don't have to worry about the joystick jutting out. It's super thin. You can pack it. Yep. You can probably put it in the laptop slot of any backpack. You know, it'd just be really, really nice.
Love it. Super, super cool. Yeah. All right, then click on the other one too. So Junkfood Customs is doing its own kind of idea on this, called the Snack Box Micro. And again, similar kind of idea. It's a very thin take on a hitbox style layout.
Okay. So here we go, same kind of thing. This
very
is
pretty.
This is a video here, so I'll play the video here for you guys.
Yeah.
So putting it next to an iPad, I'm assuming, just to kind of give you a look on that. But
yeah. So it's quite small. It's the size of a laptop, as you can see. Pretty cool. So this is from Junkfood Customs. They haven't said that it's pre-orderable yet, but they are still working on it. I think this is so cool. There's also, if you look underneath that tweet, I should have written down who this was, but there's somebody else working on it as well. Dang,
on the same tweet, you mean?
No, yeah, below it, some other company says that they're working on it too. Oh man, I really should have written that down.
Oh, they're helping with it, basically, huh?
No, they're making their own also.
Oh, dang. Okay. So basically, there's like 3 companies making this kind of thing. Then.
Yeah.
Trying to see if I can see anything else here. But yeah, both of them have been very...
Well, alright, I guess I was trying to look through their tweet here and see who had that reply, but I cannot find it now. So my bad, but I did hear about a third company who's working on this stuff too. Yeah. So this is super cool. I love the idea of it. It's a continuing evolution of the idea of what a stick can be. The way that they're doing this is that they have created their own button sides. So the plunger they still use, but the like sides of a button that are part of why a button is like so long, so tall, I guess you would say. They're getting rid of that. And then they're using, instead of anything like quick disconnects and wiring, they're just like printing a circuit board that just directly goes to everything, right? So that's just obviously a very flat way to do it. And I think that's so cool. It's such a cool idea. I've been wondering for years if there's a way to just make it so that a stick could be like the size of my little travel keyboard thickness.
Right.
Wouldn't that be so cool? It's just so handy, but it hasn't existed, and hey, maybe we're getting there finally.
Yeah, and again, it just goes back to, I mean, I love these things. I love these things, and I think it's so cool that everybody's coming up with this kind of stuff. But it just all goes back to the same message that, you know, that we talked about before, that, you know, some people are saying, well, then fighting games, if it's easy to do Electric Wing Godfist on this thing, then we should limit it to only... No, like, we're going to come up with innovations for input devices, and I think that's great. And I think that should continue, and whatever your preference is what you should play on. Obviously, as long as it doesn't give you any extra macros. Every single one of these input devices has their own advantage. You know what I mean? There's not an advantage. There's not a clear, I think, this one is better. It just depends on who you are. Yeah, I mean, the hitbox style is probably, by objective standards, the most effective one, but it's just not going to be the case for different people. And so to have different input devices for different people, I think is super important.
So the next one that I'm going to build, I've decided, is just going to use keyboard keys. I think that's where I'm at this point. I was playing on Street Fighter V the other day, and as I was doing stuff with Honda, my fingers, you know, you've got to spread your... I have 24mm buttons. They're the small kind. But they're still, like, this far apart. Why? Why aren't they this far apart? I don't know. I was thinking about it, and I was like, I just don't have a good reason for that. Why do I have to... Why should my fingers have to move around when they just don't need to?
Yeah, and there's definitely no reason not to try it. There's definitely no reason not to try putting it that way, right? If it ends up being even more comfortable.
I don't want to have them like quite as close as some keyboards do. Like again, this little guy. These are maybe too close for me, but a little bit more, I think would be cool.
I think you should. You should do what Investigation Cone suggested a while back, is just use those missile command buttons, the little cone ones with the...
Right, yeah. That's great, yeah.
No, don't do that.
No, definitely don't do that, yeah.
Don't do that.
So those are pretty cool, I think. Shout-outs to Innovations in Sticks. Still doing a lot of cool stuff out there, and there's still, I'm sure, a lot of cool stuff left to be done. Then...
I see what's next.
Can you put this on screen, please?
How do you mess up this many times? I mean, this is not the only error that they made, but...
No, it's not. No, it's not. Congratulations to 6-time EVO champion Daigo Umehara, who has been inducted into the Esports Awards Lifetime Achievement Class of 2020.
No.
Simultaneously, Lifetime and 2020.
Power to the ass of 2020.
This is the best meme.
Is this actually a screenshot, or was it like a motion graphic that someone just actually took a screenshot of?
This is just the video that actually Tubaware took this screenshot. This is just a straight up screenshot, nothing done to it. That is actually real, yeah.
Right, but I mean, like, was it a motion graphic, and so it said class, and it just scrolled off or something?
Of course,
Okay,
it's scrolling onto the screen, and eventually it will clearly say class of 2020. Of course. But in the moment, it's just too good not to post. So anyway, congratulations to Daigo for that. That's a prestigious honor. There are also other FGC nominations for this year. Vexany for Photographer of the Year. So congrats to her on the nomination. Good luck.
She won last year. She won last year as well, by the way. So.
Yeah. And Esteban for Videographer.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Congrats to him on that nomination, and good luck as well. I also wanted to give my hearty good luck and congratulations to Red Bull, Louis Vuitton, BMW, MasterCard, Mountain Dew Game Fuel, Logitech, Intel, Nike, and State Farm for their nominations as Esports Commercial Partner of the Year.
Is that a real thing?
Of course.
It is.
Congratulations again to Thorin for being nominated for Esports Journalist of the Year, so we're still doing that.
Dude, if you look at this, like, half of this is just company logos, dude. Esports Hardware Provider of the Year, Esports Coverage Website of the Year. I mean, it's... Are these the only categories? Is these 7 categories?
No. These are the industry-related categories. There are, like, players and stuff, too. I just cherry-picked the bad part.
Because I want to see what all the ones are here, you know, like... What the heck? Oh, Lord. Okay. On-air talent.
Are you looking for the other nominations?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the other categories right now. I'm just looking at the other categories and seeing what's over here. Industry awards.
For sure. Anyway, congratulations and good luck to... Ooh, for me, it's a hard one between State Farm and MasterCard. Those are some of my favorite Esports Commercial Partners of the Year.
I mean, it's just as soon as you see Esports Caster of the Year, Color, and Esports Caster of the Year play-by-play, you already know that fighting game community can't do anything about that. Like there's just
yeah.
there's just nothing you can do about that because we don't have those roles.
On Twitter. I mean, I was ripping on it on Twitter, of course, which I've done every single time this thing's been announced because the idea of it's absurd to me. But this time, somebody who works for the company replied to me and was like, I can't believe a lawyer would like stoop to the level of something like wishing harm on a small company that's trying to do well during COVID times or whatever, some phrasing. And I mean, I certainly don't wish their company harm, you know. I mean, I hope that they do well. I don't like the idea of award shows. Right? I've talked about that many times. So I just fundamentally think it's dumb. But that doesn't mean that like I wish their company harm. However, they did call it the EVO titles. EVO? It's just like the biggest open video game tournament in the world. It's not just fighting games. So, you know, he got mad at me, and then I was like, look, it's not, you can't consider it celebratory when, like, in the tweet where you're like, Daigo, congratulations, celebration time. In that same tweet, you screw up EVO. What are you going to do?
What does EVO stand for?
I'm going to call it EVO for real from now. It has become that in my mind.
I mean, that's part of the rebranding, right? It's just going to be EVO.
That's the rebranding right there, yep.
It's going to stand for Evolution, Volution, Olution.
EVO Volume 1.
I told you.
It's going to be like the Xbox One of EVO.
I told you. It's Evolution. Evolution, Volution, Olution. That's what it stands for, dude. That's what it stands for.
So now I'm going to be getting this wrong for everything in esports. For example, I'm really looking forward to the championship for DOTA 2, which is T. The T. You know, the yearly T.
Isn't it the I?
Yes. But if you were to mispronounce that, it would be pronounced as TEE instead of T period I period.
Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Anyway, all right. Enough of this.
Oh, Lord.
There's some upcoming stuff. For example, Street Fighter Pro JP 2020 preseason tournament pro selection is this weekend. And that's pretty cool. That's fun stuff. It means that the SFL itself is coming pretty soon. This is going to be a little bit of a complicated situation. 4 players from open tournaments, 6 team leaders, and 2 players from this pro selection are going to make up the SFL.
Okay.
So, the SFL preseason tournament for 3 million yen, which is $30,000-ish. In addition, and lastly, this Friday, Angelic is doing a special charity event. It's going to be raising money for the Colon Cancer Coalition in memory of Chadwick Boseman. The way that they're going to be doing that is they're going to have a Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite tournament in which everybody has to have Black Panther on their team. I think that's awesome.
Genius.
That'll be on Friday.
Genius. I love it.
For sure.
I love it.
I'll put that in the chat here, a link, and I'll put the link as well on YouTube. And that will be Friday at 7 p.m. PST. His Twitch is twitch.tv/azangelic.
Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
That's actually super cool. Shout outs to Angelic for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoops, what is happening?
That's it, man. What's going on with you?
I did start playing the Outer Wilds last weekend, which is a game that's hard to describe, and you don't want to describe it to anybody if you haven't played it. Have you played it before, David?
No, I've watched a little bit of it. I was watching it when Mean Saltine was streaming it.
Oh,
but,
okay.
I haven't played it myself.
Yeah, it's one of those games that you don't want to describe to people. You want them to experience it for themselves, and it's been quite the thing so far for me, and I'm really enjoying it. Hard for me to find time to actually play these games these days. I mean, I haven't played Bloodstained. I got close to the end, and then I just stopped playing it for like a month just because I've just been doing so many other things. I really got into the whole Parsec thing, researching that and everything. The Soul Calibur stuff that I've been doing on Monday has been really fun. I've been playing a lot of Soul Calibur again as a result, and that game is so much fun. I really, really enjoyed that. It's so much fun. But I'm also been streaming the Wednesday night fights a lot as well. The pools, actually, so that's been really cool as well.
Yeah.
And then, hopefully on Thursday I'll be able to continue that. And then on Sunday, this week, we'll probably be doing the SYC scrimmage again on Sunday. And we'll try to open up to 64 people this time and see if it still caps out. But so expect it to run a little bit longer, which probably means, although we still owe CBATs a match, but, whoever wins and stuff like that, there always is the... we probably won't be able to analyze it the way that I've done in the past, where I've gone to the replay and, analyzed it moment by moment. Right. But we can probably just play and just be like, you should do this more, kind of thing like that. Or this is what I was taking advantage of because I recognized you did this kind of thing. So there you go.
Sounds right. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun this weekend. Keep an eye on my Twitter, and I'll let you guys know when the registration goes live. I'll try to make it go live a little bit earlier than a day before, because a day before has been working because it caps out almost instantaneously. But I'll throw it out probably on Friday, and we'll see if it caps out still at that point in time. So
you got it.
Okay. What about you? Anything going on with you?
What's going on with me? Nope.
It's funny because I've been playing so much Tekken, and I've just kind of come to the realization that where I kind of stand is about around a 1750 points, 1800 points kind of player. The top player in Japan got to 2300, which is just ridiculous because already when you're at 2100, when you win, you get 1 point, 2 points, and when you lose 30 points. It's just like trash box. How the hell do you even get to that many points, when you win?
You're good and you're grinding an incredible amount.
Yeah, so it's been wild out there. So, me getting... Hey, stop it. Nathan, bad cat. So me getting to about 1750 points, I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. I'm trying to figure it out, and I feel like I'm terrible, and I feel like I'm bad at the game. That's top 2,500 in the world, but I still feel like I'm doing weak.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's how it goes. You want to be good? I get it.
Yeah, and shout outs to Kyle P as well. I know he did really well. He's trying to get into Worlds as well. And he's just absolutely a monster at this game. The deck that he played with to get to his score, a Japanese player took it, and then everybody copied it, and it's now the most popular deck out there. So Kyle awesome. has basically created one of the strongest decks out there that everybody uses. So
that's super cool.
Yeah, Kyle P is ridiculous at this game. He's nuts, dude.
So I have heard.
He got above 2200 for the first time this season. So that was one of his goals. He has never been able to get over 2200, and he managed to do it this time. So Congrats to him. But again, you lose one match, and then woo, it's all gone, and you're like, and that's the thing that's crazy to me because there's so much of this game that's RNG. A lot of times I just run into dead hands where I just can't do anything, where the opponent gets this god hand and it just you just get destroyed, and you're just well, they pulled every card they needed right there and then and had the perfect order. But then you got these people who do get to 2300, so obviously RNG is not a huge factor to them. And so you're what in the world are these people even doing? And it's wild, man. And I'm using the same deck as Kyle P, and he's got the 2200, and I can't get there. And it's crazy, man. These people are nuts at these games. It's wild, and it's so hard for me to grasp as a fighting game player to accept having that kind of bad draw kind of thing, because it's not when you're using a low tier character, you have all your tools there. You know what's available to you, so you know what your limitations are. But when you get a bad RNG draw, like, you literally just have nothing. Like, it's really hard. But I guess if you play enough, you've seen that bad draw in that way enough times that you have an alternate plan to be able to get around it, to do something different. And that's what I don't have the experience. Yeah, Zygon, Kyle has made it into the top 30 many times. He's just never made it over 2,200. Which would be around top 10. And in order to get enough points for Worlds, he would have to have finished last month at over 2,200, and I believe he did. So,
all right.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing about this game in particular, Old Onyx. You know, TCG advice, build more draw, right? So, yeah, obviously you want to build decks that have the ability to draw into different varieties. The problem is you're limited to 30 cards in this game. And it's a really small number. And like I said, I'm using the exact same deck that Kyle is using. And I'm getting my ass whooped by a lot of things. And so clearly it's not the RNG that's the problem.
Oh, it doesn't sound like you're getting beat up too much if you're as high up as you are.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, God, I want to be better than 1750. You know?
Yeah, I hear you.
Olaf got into the top 100. You know, he got into the top 100 at one point in time during the season. But cool. I think he finished outside of it. But it's just like, God, this game is stressful.
I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and KI.
Okay.
I mean, I've still been playing each of those games. I'm not playing them on stream every day, but I have been streaming regularly. I mean that I'm not rotating them constantly, but yeah. I have been definitely keeping up.
Okay.
Still trying to improve at each of those, which has been fun. I've been watching a bunch of speedruns with my wife, which has been a lot of fun. We both are enjoying that.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, for me, fighting game-wise, it's just been mostly Soul Calibur. I've just been playing that on Mondays, right. And it's just... Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's hard because I only play it once a week, and so like my improvement, I'll improve, but then I forget a bunch of stuff, and then I improve, and then I forget a bunch of stuff, etc., etc. I need to play it more often, but the problem is the netcode is so bad that the only way to really play it is through the parsec thing, you know, so makes it kind of hard to learn. Plus, I still want to set up Undernight and Guilty Gear for this kind of situation as well. And so I just haven't had a chance to because it's just hard to find the days to do it now. I mean, it's not a terrible reason because obviously Tuesday I've got the Tuesday show. Wednesday I'm doing Wednesday Night Fights actually a lot now. And Thursdays I've got the Generation Spacing podcast with Tubo. And so, you know, a lot of the nights are taken up, and now I've got to find room to squeeze in Outer Wilds as well. So
yeah, sounds good.
And it's tough. And you know, if I actually woke up at a decent time, maybe I could stream, you know, twice a day. But
yeah, you probably should.
We'll see if I can actually do that.
Yeah, I've still been playing Rocket Arena. I haven't actually played in the past week. Maybe it's a little bit longer than that now. I've just been doing mostly work over the past week, and that's been good, actually. So I haven't had quite as much gaming time, and I tend to prioritize playing fighting games if I had gaming time. So that's what I've been doing there. What kind of games has she played? My wife, that is. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but she played games when she was young, like everybody did. And then when advertising started to make it seem like video games were for boys and not for girls, she started to drop out of it. And so there's like the level where I think she played like early N64 stuff. So like she's, you know, Mario Kart, like early stuff. But after that, no. So we've been watching speedruns for games that are like that era and earlier, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know, you can't blame her, dude, because that's literally what they did. They isolated the market. They absolutely did. I mean, when you look at old like Atari 2600 ads, when you look at old arcade flyer ads for arcade cabinets, they always had pictures of a guy and a girl at an arcade cabinet playing these games, you know? And then at some point in time, it's like, oh, let's make everything violent, gross, and let's have bikini-clad women everywhere, and then you just isolated the market. And that's just all it comes down to. Overcooked is actually really fun. I wonder if she would actually enjoy that. She would hate the simplified recipes, but I think the two of you would actually have a lot of fun playing that. I played that with one of my friends, and dude, it was comical to say the least because we kept accidentally screwing each other up and stuff. It's really actually funny. It's a fun game. And shout outs to Sarah Death in the chat. He says there's too many options. At the end of the last SoulCal distancing session, he and I played like 5-6 games in a row of Killick versus Siegfried because Siegfried destroys me, and I hate that character. That's my demon in that game, and so he helped me learn that. Matchup a lot better. So shout outs to him. That was actually super cool and super fun matches that we had. So
so we watched a speedrun of Invictus, the extremely hard Mario ROM hack.
Oh, okay, got it.
And it was a lot of fun to watch. And then she was like, "Hey, why don't you download that? Like, let's give it a try." So we did, and I played it for probably 20 minutes, and I did not make it past the first room for sure. Maybe 1.5 jumps. I was just like doing it over and over and over. It's just beyond.
Because I mean, they force you to do some of those like crazy, like those wall jumps and stuff like that in a lot of the matches, right?
This one is just really precise. I mean, you have to know for just the start. The very first thing of the game is you get launched out of a pipe, and you have to know how to extend your jump, and then you have to have a super precise jump after that, and you have to go into a pipe immediately after that, and you have to have the exactly right time in the air to press forward to get into the pipe. Like, it's just really hard. It's just super hard.
It'd be awesome.
Anyway, it's been fun.
Okay.
All right, man.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And like I said, obviously David will be streaming on this channel a bunch in the mornings.
Yes.
And then also on Sunday we will be having the SYC scrimmage. On my stream, twitch.tv/jchensor, I'll be doing the Wednesday night fights tomorrow. I'm trying to find the right time for this, but I'll be streaming some Teppen again, trying to get back into Champion and to get some advice. But I'll also be giving out a bunch of codes for Volta X as well. Another game made by Gung Ho. Really interesting game. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it's kind of role-playing action-y. Like, you literally control a robot attacking another robot, but you do so by having rooms in the robot that you do attacks with, but you have like 3 pilots in the rooms, and you have to move them from room to room to actually like put out fires when the opponent attacks those rooms, like the arm cannon. And then like if they're in the room when you do the attack, you do a super attack, so you're like moving them around, and then dude, it's like crazy. It's actually super interesting. So but there you go. So
all right, man. Sounds pretty wild.
All right. But thanks, guys, for
tuning in. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you all have a good rest of your week.
Yep. Stay safe out
there. By the way,
there.
somebody asked me on Twitter if they have to wait until after we put out the tweet asking for 5 matchup topic discussion submissions to submit their topic. And no, you can just send it in whenever. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can reply below, and we'll put that in the poll for the next week. Or if you'd like to tweet at UltraChenTV, anytime, I'll put it in there.
Okay, yeah, also, stay safe out there, everybody. Wear a mask. The sooner you put on a mask, the sooner we stop telling you to put on a mask. And Black Lives Matter, and stay safe, everyone out there. And cancer sucks, so see you guys.
Later.